Right now, in a stadium packed with tens of thousands of screaming fans, two teams of 11 are chasing a ball across a patch of grass. No hands, no sticks, just feet, heads, chests, and a set of rules that took over 2,000 years to settle on. By the time this video ends, over 1 billion people around the planet will have watched, played, argued about, or bet on this sport. It is the single most popular activity on Earth, and almost none of it happened the way you'd expect. This is the entire history of football, from ancient battlefields to Victorian schoolyards to a World Cup final watched by more people than any event in human history. Let's get into it. To find the first game that even resembles football, you have to go back more than 2,000 years and skip continents. In ancient China, during the Han Dynasty, soldiers played a game called kuju, literally kickball. Players used their feet to drive a leather ball stuffed with feathers or hair through a small opening in a net strung between two poles. Historians consider it one of the earliest recorded games built around kicking a ball toward a target, and it wasn't just for fun. It doubled as military fitness training. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece and Rome, similar ball games were being played in public squares and military camps. The ball itself was a rock or animal hide packed with hair, a far cry from the synthetic panels flying around stadiums today, but the basic idea was already there. Control the ball, move it somewhere, keep the other team from taking it. There's even evidence that Mesoamerican cultures, the Maya and others, played their own ball games centuries before Europeans ever kicked a ball competitively, though those games were closer to a ceremonial hybrid of basketball and football than anything FIFA would recognize today. Here's the important part, though. None of these games are the direct ancestor of the sport we watch now. FIFA itself has been clear about this. Modern football's rulebook traces back to one specific place and one specific century, 19th century England. Everything before that is fascinating history, but it's parallel history, not lineage. Before football had rules, it had riots. In medieval England, entire villages would play a version of football where the pitch was the distance between two towns, the ball might be an inflated pig's bladder, and the team was essentially every able-bodied man in town. There was no limit on players. There was often no limit on violence. Broken bones were common. So were broken storefronts. This chaos got the game banned. Repeatedly. Historians have counted more than 30 royal and local laws passed in England between the 1300s and the 1600s trying to stamp football out, mostly because kings wanted their young men practicing archery for war, not smashing shins in a muddy field. The bans kept getting reissued, which tells you everything about how well they worked. Not at all. People loved this game too much to stop playing it. By the early 1800s, football had found a new home, not in villages, but inside England's elite private schools. Eton, Harrow, Rugby, Winchester, Shrewsbury. Each school played its own version, with its own rules, and none of them agreed with each other. One school's football match looked almost nothing like another's. If you'd grown up playing at Eton and transferred to rugby school, you'd have had to learn a completely different game. That fragmentation is the whole reason what happened next mattered so much. In 1848, a group of students at Cambridge University got tired of the chaos. Representatives from Eton, Harrow, Rugby, Winchester, and Shrewsbury sat down together and tried to hammer out one shared set of rules everyone could agree on. This became known as the Cambridge Rules, and while they weren't adopted everywhere, they planted the idea that football could, and should, have one standardized rulebook. That idea finally came to a head on October 26, 1863, in a London tavern, when representatives from 11 London clubs and schools met to found the Football Association, the FA. Their stated goal was simple: unify every version of football under one set of laws. It didn't go smoothly. The clubs argued for weeks over the single, most controversial rule in the room. Should players be allowed to pick up the ball and run with it? One faction wanted to keep hacking, deliberately kicking an opponent's shins, and running with the ball in hand. The other wanted a cleaner, kicking-only game. When the FA ultimately voted to ban handling the ball entirely, the Blackheath Club walked out in protest. They went on to help found a completely separate organization a few years later,